The ocean remembers ambition just as clearly as it remembers fear. Before the Flying Dutchman became a ghost ship, before it glowed in fog or sailed against the wind, it was said to be one of the fastest vessels on the water, commanded by a man obsessed with arriving where others could not. Hendrick van der Decken. Some accounts describe him not as reckless but relentless. A captain who broke records not by luck but by refusal. Refusal to slow down, refusal to turn back, refusal to accept that the sea, not the schedule, set the terms. According to maritime lore and later retellings, Van der Decken became known for completing passages that should have taken months in weeks. Routes from Amsterdam to the East Indies that other captains avoided during certain seasons, he sailed them anyway. Where others waited for favorable winds, he departed immediately. Where others hugged coastlines, he cut straight through open water. Sailors whispered that his ship seemed to outrun storms, and that was the first warning. Because in seafaring culture, luck that lasts too long stops being luck. It becomes suspicion. Logbooks from the era, while not naming Van der Decken directly, do describe anomalously fast voyages by Dutch captains during the height of maritime expansion. Ships arriving early enough to disrupt markets, cargo appearing weeks ahead of expectation, profits soaring. Speed meant power, and power bred competition. Some legends claim Van der Decken raced rival captains, staking his reputation on arrival times. Others suggest the pressure came from trading companies desperate to dominate routes before competitors. In either case, the message was clear. He was not content to survive the sea. He intended to conquer it. For his crew, this success came at a cost. Stories describe voyages where sleep was rationed, sails were never fully lowered, and men were ordered aloft in conditions others would consider suicidal. Discipline was strict, disobedience was punished, turning back was unthinkable. And yet remarkably, the ship kept arriving. Each record-breaking passage reinforced the myth forming around the captain. Sailors began to believe the vessel itself was extraordinary, faster than physics, touched by something beyond skill. This is where belief begins to bend into superstition. Was Van der Decken blessed? Or was he bargaining with something unseen? The most famous and final voyage ties directly into this reputation. The Cape of Good Hope was not merely dangerous, it was infamous. Ships waited weeks, sometimes months, for a window to pass safely. Storms there were not obstacles, they were verdicts. According to legend, Van der Decken approached the Cape already behind schedule. Cargo delays meant financial loss, reputation loss, perhaps even ruin. Turning back would mean admitting that even he had limits. Witness accounts passed down through sailors claim the storm was monstrous. Waves breaking over the deck, wind tearing canvas apart, officers pleading to heave to or seek shelter. And this is where the legend sharpens. Van der Decken does not merely refuse, he declares that he will round the Cape no matter the cost. In some tellings, he invokes God's name in defiance. In others, he curses the heavens. And in the darkest versions, he swears an oath that binds him beyond death. This moment matters because it reveals how people of the time understood morality. To challenge the storm was one thing. To challenge divine order was another. The idea of selling one's soul in this context was not transactional. It was philosophical. It meant choosing human will over cosmic law, profit over providence, speed over submission. And the punishment that follows is telling. Van der Decken is not struck dead. He is denied rest. Eternal punishment appears again and again in sea legends because death at sea was already common. What terrified sailors wasn't dying, it was being lost, forgotten, trapped between worlds. The Flying Dutchman embodies that fear perfectly. Condemned to sail forever, never reaching port, never unloading cargo, never completing the journey. An eternal voyage without purpose. Some scholars argue this reflects a deep psychological truth. Sailors lived in a state of suspended existence, months away from home, identity tied to duty rather than place. The idea of endless sailing was not abstract horror. It was a nightmare version of real life. Others see the legend as a religious parable, a floating warning that God tolerates courage but not hubris, that success achieved through defiance invites consequences beyond human understanding. And then there are those who see something else entirely. A survival myth, a fast ship seen repeatedly over years, could easily transform into a ghost in collective memory. especially when sailors needed explanations for loss. Because if ships vanished due to random chaos, then no one was safe. But if ships vanished because they broke rules, moral, divine, or professional, then survival felt possible again. Follow the rules. Turn back. Respect the sea. The Flying Dutchman becomes less a monster and more a teacher. And Captain Decken becomes the embodiment of a question humanity never stops asking. How much ambition is too much? History shows us the same pattern everywhere. Explorers who go farther than planned, innovators who push systems beyond ethics, leaders who mistake momentum for destiny. At first, the results are spectacular. Then come the consequences. The legend endures because it doesn't accuse, it warns. There is no definitive proof that Hendrick Decken existed exactly as described. There are no court records of damnation, no ship logs labeled Flying Dutchman. But there is proof of something else. A culture obsessed with speed, profit, breaking records, arriving first, and a deep fear of what happens when those values outrun wisdom. Even now, sailors report seeing ships where none should be, lights moving against the wind, shapes that vanish when approached. We don't need to believe they are ghosts to understand why the stories persist. The Flying Dutchman sails because ambition still does. Because we still celebrate record breakers without always asking what they sacrificed to get there. Because we still struggle with the line between determination and defiance. And because somewhere deep down we fear that if we never slow down, we may never truly arrive. If this story made you reconsider where legends come from and what they're really trying to tell us, then stay with us. Because the next video explores another tale where humanity dared to go too far and paid a price history still can't agree on. We'll see you there.